April 21st, 2020. This is a test of BJ Reece Orchard's SA-21 top tent. They've been having some problems with the machine doing some odd things that seem to be electrically induced. So we're going to test the top tent to see if it's functioning properly. We have it hooked up to our test board. This switch over here simulates the two operator switches that would be pushed by the machine operator. These lights over here simulate the solenoid air valves that open up and port air to the air motors to allow the functions to happen. On the far right there, you see the air knife. That feature no longer exists, and that is actually now the delay on the panel. So we've got everything on, which is not a typical configuration for Reece Orchards, and we've got exaggerated times in each of the timers so we can see them sequence through. We'll put it in automatic roll, so the mold should roll automatically. So when we actuate the operator switch, the first fill and the water sprayer should happen simultaneously, then the delay, then the second fill, and then it should automatically roll because we're in automatic mode. So we'll just go ahead and do that, and we'll see what happens. And I'll try and do this best I can by myself so you can see it. So keep in mind the first fill and the water sprayer should happen simultaneously. And they are counting down, and then this delay, and then the second fill, and then the roll, and the roll light came on, so that functioned properly. We'll use the reset switch there to make sure it reset, and it did. So that's functioning. Now we'll go to push mode, and in push mode, the first fill, delay, second fill, and water should happen, and then it should stop before the automatic roll feature. So here we go with that, and first fill and water are happening, and then delay, and then the second fill, and then it did stop before the roll. So now we should hit the operator switch and the roll should occur. And it did. So that all looks good. We'll look at it over here on these lights, which would simulate power going to the solenoid air valves to open up to port air to the knife, the transmission, and then the roll motor. So you should see the H2O, the water, the knife, and the fill all come on simultaneously. And then in automatic mode, you'll see it. Those lights will come on. The knife and the fill will come on again, which would be, and the air knife, which would be the delay, the second fill. And then the roll should happen automatically. So there you go. There's the water. The knife's retracted. It's filling. Water's off. The knife's closed. Fill stopped. The delay, the second fill, and then the roll. So that all worked correctly. So what we'll do now, we will put it in the configuration more realistically of what Reece Orchards would use, and that would be with the first fill on and the roll on and in automatic mode. So all we should see happen then is the first fill, and then it should automatically roll. So here we go with that. Oop, I didn't reset it. My bad. So there's the first fill counting down, and it's sequencing through the other timers, and then the roll, and there's light. So keep in mind that I have exaggerated times in all of these. You have to have some time in all of them. So normally they would be set at a 1/10 of a second, and the function does not work unless this push button switch is pushed. So you have to have a time. It has to sequence through the timers, but the function won't happen unless this push button is switched. So if you're not using these, the delay, second fill, water, typically they're set at a 1/10 of a second, and then it just sequences through them very rapidly and gets onto the next function that you have selected. So we'll watch it over here on these again, and we should see the fill, the knife, the fill, and then the roll. There's the knife and the fill. The timers are counting down. They've closed. And then it's sequencing through the other timers, and then we see the roll. So that functioned right. So what I'll do, I'll set these timers back down to a 1/10 of a second, and we can watch in more of a real time what would happen operating the machine. And I'll put this on a time a little more realistic as well. We'll say Okay, so let's we'll watch the timers, watch the panel do its thing. There goes the fill, and boom, there goes the roll. So that all happened the way it's supposed to. And then we'll watch the lights over here. Fill and knife and roll. So as far as I can tell, everything on this top tent is working correctly. I will test it many more times during the course of the day to make sure it doesn't do anything odd or change its behavior. But as of right now, everything appears to be operating normally.